and welcome to Life 100. This is Rosie, and here we talk a little bit about everything in English, in Spanish, and sometimes in Spanglish, while we wear our onesies and sunglasses because, hey, why not? Life is better when we live it to the 100. So welcome y bienvenidos. Today, I am so excited to bring to you an interview with Tito. Tito is a fitness cyclist, and his passion for this sport and how it has changed his life is contagious, just pure energy. And I'm so glad that he is with us today to share his experience. So, Tito, welcome to the show.
Hello, Rosie. Welcome. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I am looking forward to our conversation. You know, I am always excited to talk about whether you are a beginner or a pro on how sports and exercise could bring joy and a sense of achievement and in cases, a sense of purpose. But before we begin, I love to share with the listener just a little bit of your background. So if you can talk about how you got started in fitness cycling and later on, how do you keep developing your skills and goals?
Well, it all started when I was back in high school in my grades 11 and 12. I was too young. I didn't have a driver's license. I was only a 15-year-old junior and a 16-year-old senior, so I couldn't get my license. So everywhere that I went on a bicycle. And I was lucky enough that my grandparents and my aunt, they got me my first road bike, my Swing road bike. And from there, it was 10 miles to school, 10 miles back. And that's when it really took off, when I started to see how fast can I make it on the hills and back. Then as I joined the military, I always had a bicycle, and I always used it for cardiovascular to always try to do the same route faster and faster. And with this pandemic, I looked at my bike. I used it every once in a while with Tracy. We go on rides, we try to be fit. And decided to start cycling again like I did back in high school out in Gainesville. And set out a loop and timed it a few times. And I incorporated cycling into my routine for weights and overall fitness. And I try to do it shorter. And I also change it up a bit so I can reach goals as far as max CO2 usage and my stamina. So it's pretty exciting. Beginning is the hardest part. The first step is always the hardest. But little by little, as you get used to and adapt, you catch that fever, you catch that bug. And you can't wait to be out on the road.
Yes, you can't wait to be out on the road. As you know, I did my share of cycling in Florida. And the feeling that I get from it is just amazing. For me, it's like being one with nature. It feels almost like flying. And then every single time that I go out is a totally different experience. So I'm always looking forward to see what's going on today, what's going to be like tomorrow. So how is it for you? What is your experience like?
I stay focused because I'm usually doing some kind of a sprint training or distance training, but I just put myself in a relaxing place. Basically zoom in and try to stay focused and think about the beach, think about being along the A1A, visualizing myself hitting my goals. That's what pushes me and drives me.
And talking about goals, what are your particular goals and how to get involved in fitness cycling? In particular, what are the benefits that you have experienced?
The best benefit of our cycling, again, is low-impact cardiovascular training. I mean, you're just using your bottom half, but when you're out there, you're using your whole body, your torso, your shoulders, your arms keep the bike straight. It actually works your whole body. Even you feel you're not using it, your whole body is benefiting from this. As far as goals, I want to be able to do my loop as quick as possible when I sprint, and also when I add 5 miles, I add intervals of once a sprint for like 5 miles and take it easy for 2 miles. I change it up so I can increase my resistance and my cardiovascular tolerance to the point that I can ride 100 miles nonstop.
Non-stop. Okay, I see. And when you talk about loops, what do you refer to? What is a loop?
Loop is basically your route, from your start to beginning. however many miles you do, that's your loop. That's your lap. Yeah, I call it loop, but it's actually a lap. I have a 15-mile lap and a 20-mile lap. And when I hit the 20-mile lap, I use different methods of sprinting, of longer intervals with longer intervals of rest. And when I'm doing my 15-mile lap, I'm going for straight time. I'm trying to get that time as low as possible and increase my cardiovascular endurance.
Okay. So a lap basically is from the beginning point, from the starting point. You go on your ride and then you return to the same point, right? From beginning to end. It's not like you start in one point and then you have somebody else at the end who is going to pick you up. The loop is the fact that you have to return to the starting point, correct?
Yes, I have one 15-mile lap and one 8-mile lap and a 120-mile lap.
Okay. So you're talking about 8 miles, 15 miles. What is it about?
The 8-mile lap is basically sprinting as fast as I can do it from the moment I hit zero to the moment I come back. There's a quick ride. You can do it in a half hour, 25 minutes, and it basically tells you your endurance. You're going all out. Of course, you got to be able to deal with traffic, but you're basically pushing yourself to the limit. The better I get, the longer that lap is going to be. Maybe I sprint a 20 mile one day, but you have faster, medium, and endurance. When I do the endurance, I have stretches in which I go all out for a mile, rest for a mile or two, go a medium pace for 5 miles, rest a mile, mile and a half. All I'm doing is raising my cardiovascular resistance. The reason I have those three is because I want to achieve my ultimate goal of 100 mile nonstop. By having short-term goals and achieving those, it gives me a leg up to achieve my ultimate goal.
Incrementally. So when you're training, how do you take those 8 miles that you already achieved and convert it into 15 miles? What is the training like and the process to go even further and to be able to continue on and keeping a good pace at it?
I try to lower the time it takes me for the 8 to the point that if I see it that is effortless, I move up to 10. And if I find that effortless, I move up to 15. My goal right now is to make a 15-mile sprint and 20-mile endurance and a 25-mile loop or lap. So I try to increase by 5s.
And how do you plan those rides? What time of the day, the traffic, the weather? What do you do to make those miles happen?
Planning is everything because, as you well know, Rose, in Florida, it's a flat state.
It is.
And people are not precisely the best bike awareness, although in this area it's not that bad. Mm-hmm. But you never want to go during rush hour when you know people are coming back from work because all they want to do is get home. Yes. They don't think too much about the cyclist. You do a loop in your car with something like Google Maps or Waze, and you measure where you want to go. You also take a map of the area and see what trails do you have. You look at the temperature, you look at the wind that's coming from because, Florida is flat and we're 15 minutes away from the coast. So a lot of winds comes from the east. You have to look at the wind resistance because Florida is unforgiving. It can get hot, humid, and if you're going against the wind, you might not feel it, but heat exhaustion is a fact. You have to stay hydrated. Bring some Gatorade with you in your bottle. Don't take anything for granted. So I take everything into consideration. The sun exposure for the UV determines the gear that I wear. You want to stay protected, but you also want to stay light. SPF is mandatory. So I got to make sure I have my SPF. I got to make sure it's the right time of day. There's not a lot of traffic. Make sure that my wife knows exactly where I'm going. In case God willing, anything happens, she knows exactly where I am in my lap.
Important,
and
yes.
It's not just getting on your bike and going. You have to prepare, look at the traffic patterns, also the weather, because as you get older, you got to take into consideration your stamina.
That's right.
You don't want to be out there when the UV is the hardest.
And where do you get all this information to prepare? Is there an app? You go online? What kind of tools do you use to be ready for that particular ride?
I use my weather app, and I also go outside. I go outside and I feel If it's humid, if it's just brisk, if it's perfect for riding, if it's windy. I have another app that's a compass, and it tells me the wind velocity and where it's headed, and I incorporate that into my route. So I'd rather start with the wind and end with the wind than the other way around. It's really hard. It's really hard when you're going against the wind the whole time. It affects your time, but it increases your cardiovascular endurance. Either way, there's no losing the cycle. There's other cyclists out there, of course, professionals that average 20, 21, 22 miles an hour, and they ride 50 to 70 miles a day. Me, I just want to be able to do 101 shot, 50-50, because I would like to travel one day across Volusia and Flagler County on A1A on the bike. That'll be an amazing ride.
Now that is something. And how do you get started in this fitness cycling? What took place?
Well, unfortunately, it was because of an injury. I used to be able to jump really high when I was younger, and that takes a toll on your knees. And running as far as, like I used to, as far as fitness, was taking too much of a toll on my right knee. I was told to do low impact cardio like an elliptical or biking again. I said, hey, I've always loved biking. I got a bike, and Tracy and I, my wife, we love going on bike rides. So, I wanted to stay in good cardiovascular shape. And bike is low impact. I love doing it. And at the same token, it was a win-win. From then, I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, might as well do it right towards my fitness routine.
So how do you incorporate this bike ride with your fitness routine?
Well, everybody's got their own way of doing things, and they have to do what works for them. Number one, the way that I do it is the way that is beneficial for me. For your listeners, they will know that if they're in shape and they go to the gym, not everybody has the same way. So I was in the military. My body's used to certain movements. So what I do is I try to ride every day, 15 to 20 miles a day, sometimes 8, depending on what I'm doing. And then after that, I do weight training. Do mostly upper body with dumbbells, 4 sets of 10 reps. And my cardio is cycling. And I use it as a preamble to the rest of my fitness. The days that I don't use weights, I ride longer. The day that I use weights, I ride either 15 miles or I do an 8-mile sprint. So based on how much I ride that day is my weight routine.
Oh, yes. So you customize it to fit your goals and what is in the agenda for the day, right?
Indeed.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I'm not a professional. I'm not sponsored. I'm not being paid to do this. Some days are better than others. Some days you feel a little lazy or, your elbow hurt and your knee hurt. You have to pay attention to your body. If you're a beginner, you know exactly when you're pushing too hard and when you need to ration it out. Listening to your body is important. Rest is important. Dieting is important. You can't just down a pizza and then go on a 20-mile run. It's just, you're going to be puking on your 10th mile.
Yes, keeping it real, definitely. So for the person who's just starting, right? Let's say there is a beginner, there is a novice, and hear you talking, and I say, this is something that I really want to do. Is low impact, it's easy to get started. What is the best place for me to start? What kind of things will I need to be a part of this particular sport?
The first thing you need for this is any bicycle on earth.
Any
bicycle. I don't care if it's the one with the basket and the little bell and the steering wheel, or you can spend, some people spend out anywhere to $2,000-$3,000 for a very light road bike. Depending on what you're doing is the money you're going to spend. I personally recommend somebody to start intermediate bike or hybrid bike that you can do road and trails. They run you anywhere from $200 to $300. Of course, get a helmet. Take it to a bike shop so it can be properly tuned, and they tell you a little bit about your bike. Learn your bike because it's going to save you in case you have a flat or you slip a gear or you have to fix a chain. Learn your bike. Go to a bike shop. Talk to the people that work with you. Because 9 times out of 10, they're experienced riders. Check a map of the trails, protect the trails, and see where you're going to spend the least amount of time on the road with cars. If you're a beginner, Cars are not your friend. Stick to trails until you develop the body control to stay on the right side of the road, and don't get nervous when people drive by you 55 miles an hour. So as a beginner, stick to the protected trails, map out ahead of time, get a helmet. I don't care how goofy you think it looks. The older we get, the more self-actualized we become with death. So while we used to laugh about it as kids, I'm now one of those guys with a bike helmet, even though I grew up not using one. I'm using one now.
Yes. I mean, we get wiser and smarter. So what gear do you use? Do you use like a special gloves or anything like that, special equipment? I mean, what kind of gear do you recommend for the beginner?
Okay, so the beginner wants to do anywhere from 10 to 12 miles a day, every other day, or maybe 50 a week. I recommend some lightweight gloves that are breathable. First and foremost, get padded bike shorts, number one.
Highly recommended.
Highly recommended padded bike shorts, and understand, ladies, guys, Vaseline is your best friend. If you want to avoid saddle sores, Vaseline and your private regions with your pants will keep you happy the whole ride. You do not want to get saddle sores. They will kill any program you want to start because you won't be able to sit down. Saddle sores is your number one enemy when it comes to cycling. And hemorrhoids when you get too much of a hard seat. So, first and foremost, you got to have a seat you're comfortable with in the bike that you have. You need padded shorts. You need a helmet. Gloves are optional depending on your hand sweat, but the padded shorts and the helmet, that will definitely is a must. The use of padded shorts, they have instructions on YouTube. They got channels. You can also look online. Some people never used them before, and they might see it, and it's kind of weird. But yeah, you need padded shorts. You need a helmet. You need gloves if your hands sweat. If not, your good grip on your bike is fine. Also, map ahead of time. Plan accordingly. Water and Gatorade, specifically water, is your best friend. 8 to 12 ounces before you ride and 16 ounces after you ride. It's also recommended for you to have anywhere 8 to 12 ounces on your water bottle. Some people just put ice and let it melt as they ride. Some people use Gatorade. I personally like Gatorade. It's a lot of trial and error, and also online there's plenty of information. And I basically started back onto it online. Watching people. I'm like, you know what? I'm going back out there and start riding. And here I am.
And there you are. Got it. So, talking about the fitness portion of this, right? And the transformation that you have experienced, can you tell us more a little bit about that?
As I started getting more proficient with my riding, I became dieting accordingly and incorporating more anaerobic training. So, my method of cardio is cycling. My number one method of cardio. So I incorporate my loops and my distance, my sprints to what I want to achieve that day. And I make sure that I try to burn at least half as much or 3/4 as much as I consume. So I can achieve my goals of burning fat, muscle, and creating my stamina.
So for those who want to combine the cycling and the low impact exercise, then this will be ideal, right? I mean, this will be a great choice for them.
Absolutely. And also distance. Understand that if you're not used to biking, 5 miles might seem like a million. It's better to keep yourself, with multiples of 5. You start with 5, and then your next goal is to do 10. And then your next goal is to do 15. There's plenty of numbers in between, but having those landmarks as definite, helps out, because you do 5 20 times, that's 100, and that's the goal that I'm trying to reach. So right now I'm number 3 of my 5, number 4 of my 5, which is 20. I want to be able by the end of this month to make it to 25, and then maybe next month 35. I want to be able to do it by the end of the year, so next summer I can say, hey, you know what? I'm doing the A1A. I'm doing Flagler to Volusia all in one shot.
And how many miles is that, and how long it takes?
Well, put it this way: Flagler County has 18 miles of A1A, short. I want to be able, counting St. John's and Volusia, 98 miles. And if I go, experienced riders will do that in less than 4 hours. Experienced riders will do 20, 25 miles an hour. They'll make it a 4 to 4 mile trek. I just want to be able to complete it during daylight.
Muy importante, very important indeed.
Yeah. I just wanna complete it during daylight, and my personal goal of saying, you know what, I cycled A1A from end of St. John's all the way down to Volusia, and that's a goal. I want to do that by the time I'm 50. My wife, she's a great motivator. She's doing her thing as well, and we'll just support each other. And cycling for me, it gives me a way to vent, relax. It's also great for my mental health. It allows me to decompress, leave all my stress out in the pedals and the road. And I'm in a much better mood when I ride. Even my wife started cycling regularly. You're in a much better disposition. So the benefits are more than just, physical fitness. It's also mental fitness and emotional as well.
The mental, the physical, especially in this situation that we are living right now, it's just not easy out there. At this particular time, when this is recorded, there is a pandemic. The coronavirus is happening, and that changes everything. So definitely, I see having a strong mental aptitude so important to move forward, and, reaching your goals is a plus.
Indeed. I'm very fortunate, very grateful that I had a bike, and we live, where I live, there's plenty of trails, and you see a large community of people cycling as well as I do. A lot of them, some are pros, some are just like me, fitness, some are just families. But where we live, the cycling family is growing. You see more bicycle shops opening up. And right now, to find a bike, they're almost sold out because people are taking to biking since they can go to the gym.
Yeah. That's true. That's true, though. I didn't think about that. Absolutely.
People are taking to the trails because they can go to the gym, and they're like, you know what? Let's just get a bike and move around.
And talking about bicycle, when people go to the bike shop, can you tell us more about what to look for, what kind of things to ask for, about the maintenance and the lingo and the things that the person needs to be aware of?
The first thing you want to check is your gears. Make sure that your transmission and your gears are changing adequately, both your front three and I got a 21 speed. So I got three gears in the front and 7 in the back. I got my settings, so I make sure before that everything is changing properly, that your brakes are not slipping, that they're adjusted the way you want them when you squeeze them. You want to make sure you don't have any excess grease, that your tires are at the right pressure because you don't want to flat where you're going. And above all, make sure you're visible. Make sure that you are visible, that at least you have something drawing the attention for the motorist to say, there's a guy on a bike. Because if they can see you, they won't stop for you. You got to make sure that you're visible. So I make sure that my bike's in tip-top and visible, and I dress accordingly.
Oh, yes, for the bicycle and for you to be visible as well, right? Because that's so important. If they can see you, it's going to be trouble. So anyway, on the bike shop, right? What is the lingo? What are the terminology that is used for different situations?
Okay, rough shifting means that it's having a hard time going through the gears. So you tell them that it's being rough shifted. Make sure that you're not slipping a speed that when you paddle so hard, the transmission changes on its own because it's slipping. It's not as tight as it used to be. Also, fork stiffness. Your front fork, if it's a shock fork, you got to make sure that it actually goes up and down, not stay stiff, because that means it's not adequately lubed. And again, your front gears, your shifters, your gear shifters, and your brake shifters. You want to make sure that they ain't tipped up and the cables are not frayed. So the more you ride, you should take your bike for a tune-up according to your bike, how sensitive it is. Recommended time is every 200 miles. If you have a better bike, the technicians will tell you how often to bring it in. The more expensive the bike, the lighter, the better it works, but also the more care that it requires.
Yeah, got you. And then little by little, for what I understand, right? It can be started with a basic, and then as they become more proficient, they can invest a little bit more, little by little, until they get the bike that they exactly the way they want it, right? And that way they can combine the exercise and the cycling to reach their goals. So, because this program, what I see, is very flexible, and it can be customized depending on each person's unique needs, right?
And down here in Florida, since we're a flat state and we're also in the northeast side of Central Florida, the cycling community, the cycling as a sport is huge in the retiring community. Early in the mornings, you see clubs of retirees with upwards of 30 or 40 riders. Up in Northeast Florida, like Ponte Vedra, they actually have cycling clubs that go A1A, and they're 30 and they're 30, 40, 50 deep. So it's a big thing down here in Florida. And of course, if you ever went to school in Florida, you know that you go everywhere on a bike. Little by little, you see more bike lanes popping up. And it's people are aware of it. Every day you see somebody on a bike and a helmet somewhere. So it's great. It's absolutely great. I'm a little bit upset that I didn't do this 10 years ago.
But it's never too late. It's never too late. As long as you take action. Right?
Yesterday on my ride, I saw a gentleman who was anywhere between 75 and 80.
Woo! There you go.
And he was in a very nice, expensive bike. He flew by. I saw him, and he was just on his own. You know what? I want to be like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And that is so good because this particular sport doesn't have an age limit. Like many other sports, that the age kind of puts a limit on what can be done, but not this. No. It can be done in so many ways. I mean, a truly customized plan to reach your goal. And I like that. I like that a lot.
And Rosie, also, I want to say that I'm using a bicycle. Mm-hmm. There's other people out there because of either age or joint mobility that have tricycle. There's people out there that have the incumbent bikes. Those that have like lower back problems. Okay. Where there's a will, there's a way. Just because I'm on a bicycle doesn't mean that you cannot use a bicycle or an incumbent bike or even a scooter. No matter what your preferred method is, cycling is cycling.
Cycling is cycling, and it's so good.
And so good. You're pedaling, you're getting in shape, you're enjoying the outdoors. And it's a great way to combat stress, a great way to have mental health, and a great way to get fit. It's the top 3.
Absolutely. This is so true. And I'll tell you what, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. Here I am in Austin, Texas, and as you know, we have some hills and some flat areas. So I'm really excited to get on the bike and explore, and I know a little bit more about the lingo and the terminology and things to look for and to prepare. So this has been amazing, and I hope every single one of you listening really can relate and enjoy and get the same energy and excitement that you have, Tito, because I'm telling you, your passion for this sport is there. I can feel it. I can feel the energy, and it's just very exciting. I am looking forward to seeing you reach the goal of that 100-mile stretch that you want to do, and I know you're going to get it done and far beyond. And like you say, it's never too late, right?
Never too late. All you need is, there's a will, there's a way.
There you go. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Take care, Rosie. Have a good one.
And for you, I hope that you enjoy this show. If you are a beginner, or if you are intermediate, or even a pro, let us know what is it like for you. Let us know how you got started, about your experiences, the things that you would like to do. Let us know if this has been a show that you have enjoyed and learned something. I know I did, and I'm so excited about it. So here, until next time, thanks for listening, and like, comment, subscribe on the website or on Insta. Go ahead, stay in touch, 'cause Life 100, here we go.